Aqua friends, welcome to my channel. My name's Nicole, and today I want to talk about the biggest mistake that beginner watercolorists make. And it has nothing to do with the paint or brushes. It has to do with the holy grail of watercolor. And can you guess what that is? I'm talking about paper. Okay, so that is the most important thing in your arsenal, and I do want to show you the difference that a good paper makes. In this example, I have a high quality watercolor paper on this side, and I have just a student grade paper that's not 100% cotton on this side. In fact, there's no cotton at all in this paper. It's a cellulose paper, which means it's just made from wood pulp like regular paper, except it's thicker. Now, this is 100% cotton, and let's make a couple of squares of different colors. I'll do a couple of different techniques so that you can see the difference. So this is cobalt blue I'm grabbing here. And first off, we'll just make a square on each paper. Now right away you can see the difference. The paint tends to really get into the fibers of this paper, of the cotton paper, and it's a more pleasing, consistent color. And as you can see, we got some pooling paint here, and it's very uneven. So already, if you're a beginner and you don't know about good quality paper, you know, you'll see somebody creating something that is pleasing to the eye, that you want this type of technique, but you're ending up with this technique and you don't know why. It's because of the paper. We're gonna let those squares dry, and I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna wet an area first. So we're gonna try doing wet on wet first, and we'll pick up a new color here. I'll pick up my red. So I'm making a square just with water, clean water. And I'm gonna put my brush into, this is quinacridone red. It's a beautiful, cool red, gorgeous pinky color. And I'm gonna drop that in here. So it's not really moving around too much. And I have to kind of really use my brush to spread that color around. Let's see what happens when we try on the good paper. And so we'll make our second square here with just water. So I'm wetting the surface. Quinacridone red, and I'm going to start putting it in there. So it does spread better. I don't have to dab at it too much. It does seem to be not just sitting on the top of the paper, but it's like sinking into the paper. Now I'm going to see how the two colors will blend together on the paper. So I'm going to make a bigger kind of rectangle here. Put some blue in here on the top. Come in with my pink. I'm going to try to get it in there into some of the blue area. Alright, so I'm going to put the blue down just like I did. Get some of the red. Try to get it to go into the blue. I'm going to make a yellow square, and let's see how well the color lifts. This color is quinacridone gold. And I'm gonna make another box here. So I'm gonna take a flat brush, and I'm just gonna dampen it. So I'm not waiting for the paper to dry, and we'll run a line through it. It actually lifts really well. Okay, so it does lift on both papers. Let's try dry brushing. I'm trying to think of all the different techniques I could show you on these papers. So dry brushing, you're gonna take a thicker consistency of pigment, and you're gonna use a very dry brush and try to just skip along the surface here. Now let's do the same thing on the other paper. So it's pretty dry. I'll tell you right now, this one is a lot more textured. Real cotton paper is more textured than this. So the smoothness of this paper, it's just really not working. That's not a good dry brush effect. This is wonderful. Okay, then the last thing I'll do is I'll do a gradient color. And by the time we're done doing a gradient color, we should be able to see how glazing works, because these ones here are going to be dry enough for us to see how that works out. So I'm going to start off using a very thick consistency. Okay. And then I'm going to add water. And then slowly we want to use less and less paint, more and more water. So very thick consistency of paint, more water, less paint, even more water. So you can see I could get a lot more depth of color on the real paper than I got with this paper. All right, so we're gonna make a square of the red on top of the blue, just half of the square, so you guys can see how cool this is. And I will start here. Okay, to put a second square on top. And we'll do that on this square. Okay, so you can see there is transparency, but it's very blotchy on the wood paper versus the cotton paper. You have a kind of a glow here, and this quality of a glazing is so much nicer than that one. Now the last thing I want to show you is how very weak this paper is, and it will not hold up to very much abuse. Whereas cotton paper, the fibers hold together a lot stronger. So if we wanted to do a lot of different types of textures, lifting vigorously to kind of try to get back some of the highlights or the white of the paper. Highlights are easier to do on cotton paper, not so easy to do on the wood paper. So I'm going to try lifting on our square here. Okay, so it does lift, like I said, it's not a problem lifting. But if you can see, this is only 3 swipes, and you can see all of this on my brush right here, and all these little fibers that are lifting and pilling up. That is the paper starting to come off. And like I said, that really, I wasn't scrubbing that hard. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. So I've already done 1, 2, 3. You have to work at lifting a little bit more on good paper, but as you can see, the paper is intact. It hasn't fallen apart. You could further lift by using your paper towel, and I did lift the color and my paper is not wrecked. Whereas here, the paper, you can see that is all falling apart. So that is the difference between a cellulose paper and a cotton paper. So if you want to set yourself up for success, I would recommend spending the money on a good quality paper. So let me show you guys what I actually used. I wonder if you guys can guess what brands these are. Okay, so first off, this was the bad paper. This is the paper that you will find in your local craft store. So it is harder to find the professional paper in just a local craft store. It would be better if you went to a professional art store where you would get good quality brands. Now, the top recommended brands that I use, Arches is the one that I used in this demonstration. You just can't go wrong with Arches. It's 100% pure cotton, and as a beginner, I would suggest using the cold pressed. Now, this is another brand that I have been practicing and using, and I absolutely love it. It's Behong watercolor paper. It's 100% cotton, and it behaves very much like Arches, and it's a lot less expensive. So if you're new to watercolor, I would definitely suggest trying this paper out if you don't want to splurge on the Arches. Another one that I feel is just as good as the Arches is the Hahnemuhl watercolor paper, and it actually, I think, lifts a little bit better than the Arches. And so depending on what type of painting I'm doing, I sort of usually go between these three papers. But I have been doing a lot with the Behong because, like I said, if it's cheaper and it works the same, you get just as good quality. Why not, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed that demonstration and got to see how different student grade regular wood pulp paper is compared to cotton paper. Grab yourself some of that Behong watercolor paper. I do have the link for that in the description below. And get started with some doodling. Grab some paint, some brushes, and you will be surprised what you could do with really good paper.